Hey family, we are live, broadcasting live. This is the Conversation Room 101. Make sure it's only adults in the house. I need your mind to be open, prepared, and relaxed. Welcome to our home. Take your shoes off. We got some rules we need to go over. Be kind. No cursing in the chat. If you want to curse, call in. And no shouting out other channels. That's a no-no. We got one other rule. There is no judging our guests. It will not be permitted. Zero tolerance. And if so, you want to do that, guess what? We got security. And we will escort you out. Because over here, hashtag we don't care. We're going to be one big family. We're going to laugh together sometimes. We're going to cry. But we definitely going to pray. I thank the Lord above for everything. I lift him up and give him the glory. But you guys, right now, we're going to get our popcorn. And then we're going to see what's going on. And let me just park my car. And I'll be in there in a minute. I'll see you real soon.
The Copyright Disclaimer Act. The Copyright Disclaimer Act under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news, reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Hey family, how's everybody doing? Come on in, you guys. Let's just chat a little bit. We're not going to stay on here long. I see Cody's voice is in the building. Lisa Taylor, C6 Banks is in the building. I was just reading the statement that one of the Nolan's friends made. What was that? Okay, hold on. One of the statements. Well, the only person that's really talking that's Nolan's friend is his African American friend. He's saying that things ain't, he don't. You got to remember that these kids got to stay in the town, in the city, on the street, and all of this other stuff. So if he doesn't know, but he knows enough that people talk, that I told you guys some more information was going to come out. What did you learn, Miss Cody's voice? Because this is very upsetting. And it's starting to unravel, you guys. I got some information that I didn't have yesterday. So I wanted to share that with you guys. If you guys, now, nothing is ever extantuated, like we don't have, we're so far away that we can't say, hey, I know this for a fact. So, some people be like, well, but let's talk about what we have heard. Or did you hear anything that we don't know? Hey, Pretty Kate, what's going on? I see you in the building. So let me share with you the two things that I've heard. Nothing is, like it's in cement, it's not where, I know for a fact. So let's make sure you guys know that. I'm just telling you what I've heard. There might be a lot of rumors out there. Like I said, it's going to spin the way it's spinning. One thing we do know, we're not, and I believe that us as a collective of people of concern, because I have to say concern. I can't say the Black community. I can't say, the LGBTQ community, the white community, or the Laotian. I can only say, as a community of concerned people, these are things that I have heard, and you may have heard them also, that there was a father of one of the Caucasian boys on that boat. It wasn't just the kids by themselves. So that changes things. That changes my perspective. I don't know if it's true or not, but somebody had to take the picture. and I see an older guy with a dad's bod on the boat. I don't know if, because sometimes people jump on, hey, you got a beer, hey, you got this, you got that, or whatever. Let me see if I can fix this. So I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know, you guys. I'm just saying that it was said that, and then I went back to when the father was on, I don't know what show he was. He could have been on Good Morning America or whatever, but I do distinguishly went back, and it was on a YouTube channel, but it was covering the Good Morning America, where he was saying, Nolan's father was saying, if I took the kids somewhere, I would make sure all the children came back. When he was talking about that, I thought he was talking about we as a group of kids go out together, and then like nobody was responsible for each person. But if there was an adult there, okay, he's responsible. But I also heard you guys that Nolan made it back to the main shore, the land, and was at a pool party that evening. And I'm going to tell you if that is true, because I don't know if it's true or not. But if that's true, somebody took him back to the island. And I thought to myself, I said, if that is true, somebody had to take him back to the island, and this is a cover up. This is actually a real cover up. And this is why, nothing's making sense. Because why would you go back to where you came from? You wouldn't. So it would be a cover up. And this is why, and I'm just saying if it's true. Cody says, I'm trying to find this article so I can send it to you. Well, you can probably send it to me. I didn't have my phone, but I got it now. Let me see if it's charged. I don't even know. But what I was gonna tell you guys is when Nolan's father was talking, he wasn't talking like he was talking to one of the kids that was on the boat. Like, hey, no, he was talking like, he was talking to an adult. Like if I took all the boys on this trip, then I'm responsible for all the boys to come back on the trip. And I listened to it again, and I was like, okay, now it's making sense. They're not sharing all the information that's out there, but that does make sense that there was a one of the boys' dad on the boat. That does make sense to me. And that's who he was talking about when he was saying, then you should bring all the kids back. And but here's the thing. Okay, I got it. Let me see if I can see what it is. Let me see. Nobody would ever hurt Nolan. Friends of Nolan Wells speaks out after 18-year-old was found deceased. Okay, Ocean Spring, Mississippi. A friend of 18-year-old Nolan Wells is now speaking out about what he saw on the 4th of July. In an interview that aired Monday on Good Morning America, his name is Tristan Shepard, said that he and the other young people who were on the trip have been devastated by Wells' decease and have faced intense public scrutiny in the days since. I just know I lost my best friend. That's what he said. Shepard said he and Wells were among a tight circle of friends who had known each other since their freshman year at Ocean Springs High School. He said Wells was just somebody that you automatically just felt so comfortable to talk to that they bonded through athletics. Nobody would ever hurt Nolan in our friend group. We would die for him. We would do everything in our powers for that guy. If he needed anything, we would do it, he said. He brought us all together. The interview comes as authorities continue investigating. Wells, 18, was found deceased following a celebration on July the 4th. His body was found in the water 2 days later. Shepard said he and his group of friends, which included Wells, have been drinking alcohol since the late morning after multiple boats, all continued containing friends, arrived on Horn Island for an outing that had been planned to be one last hurrah, before returning to school or work after the holiday break. Shepard said that Wells remained on Horn Island after meeting a young woman, nah, early that day while the others returned to the mainland by boat. Well, I don't know if that's true. I don't know. How would he know? How would Shepard know? I mean, was he there? I don't know. I mean, okay. They met that day, and it kind of one of those things, Shepard said. He did come off that day that he really did like her, but that was the only time they ever hung out was at Horn Island. However, Wells' family has questions about that account. During an interview on Good Morning America last week, his parents, Christina and Elmore, his father, said they could not understand why their son would have voluntarily separated from his friends, saying he had always been taught to stay with the group. They have also wondered what happened to Wells' cell phone. Christina told Good Morning America that his phone was recovered after a friend tracked it using an app, and its location history appeared inconsistent with what friends had reported seeing through Snapchat. In Monday's report, ABC News noted that investigators have requested the cell phone but have not received it from the family. Shepard told ABC that Wells had left his phone in a boat along with many others because he would be spending so much time in the ocean. Shepard's uncle, who asked not to be named and was piloting one of the boats that day, Shepard's uncle, said it is normal for people in the boat community to ignore their phones while on the water. We did no wrong here, and we don't understand how we're getting so much hate behind us. He said, we all cared and loved Nolan, and nobody wanted to see Nolan die. Nobody wanted to see his life be taken so short. Shepard addressed a viral video that investigators have been studying. Many worries the video showed Wells in a confrontation, but Shepard said that was not the case. That's the video I'm referring to, and that's me yelling, Shepard said. So Shepard said he was yelling. Shepard said that he hoped attention will return to remembering the sweet friend he lost. I think everybody needs to let the investigation continue and let the facts be shown, Shepard said. And if the facts show that somebody harmed Nolan, I hope that there is justice brought. And if it was a tragic accident and somebody didn't speak up, I still hope justice is brought. The results of both the independent and the official autopsies are not yet in. I did hear that the independent autopsy was in. I heard that also, and it was not coinciding with the autopsy that was already there. For one thing, is they said that there was some trauma. I don't know. It's not written in stone, you guys. I don't have the intelligence like other people have to get that information that is a fact. I'm just saying what I've heard. You know what I'm saying? But so now we're hearing that it's Shepard's uncle. So okay, Cody's voice. Thank you for sending that. But that hey, I'm you know I don't I'm not contesting that was Shepard or not Shepard. He said it was him. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't. But I do know the information that I did, like I said, get was that, hey, he made it back to the land, and he was at a party. If he was at another party at some given time, how did he end back at Horn Island? Like, who would actually know that he was at Horn Island earlier and to go, oh, these boys are going to say they left him there? Unless you were at the pool party and you were with him earlier and he did come. See, it's actually seeming to me, and I'm just telling you the things that I am juggling around in my head. It seems to me that he did make it back home. I don't think that he could have been out there and the riptides just kept him down for 2 days. Somebody would have seen him. His family is right about that. Somebody would have seen him. Say, Dr. Cinda White, that's a rumor. The pick in the pool was a week prior. The pick in the pool was a week prior. I I don't know. This is what I'm saying. It's like, they're gonna go over everything. But what I will tell you, I haven't even seen the pic of the pool party. I haven't seen no pic, pool party, or anything. I only heard that he was. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys something. You guys remember the Jody Rice case? Jody Reyes, where she was so in love with this guy that somewhere in Las Vegas and wherever, she took him out when he was taking a shower, and they did not have all the information, and she thought she was going to beat the case, and she took it to court and blah 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 blah. Anyway, you guys remember that Jody Rice had this camera, right? But she threw everything in the wash machine. And it took years, but you know what? That camera, when she had dropped the camera, it actually had took a picture. And even though that they were going on with the case in court or whatever, they were still trying to find out what that picture looked like what was on that picture, right? I'm going somewhere. I want to just share this with you guys. We're only going to stay on here for 30 minutes. So it's already 18. We only got 12 left. So anyway, they kept having forensics look at this picture, and they got all kind of equipment. You guys don't really understand how technology is so advanced now that guess what? They can see things that you can't see. Now, one thing I did notice, and if you don't know what I know, you would know that even when people take pictures and they got glasses on, guess what? They can see who's taking that picture by the glasses. So that person, which if it was Shepard's uncle or whatever, letting these teenagers that's underage drink, you already in some trouble, mister. Because you can't just let teenagers just drink because they drinking. You are responsible. You've got these kids out there on a boat, your boat or whoever's boat or whatever, but you're the adult there, and you are responsible for these kids, and you're allowing them to just drink. Now, you just can't knock it out their hands or take it from them, but you can sure shut it down. You can shut it down. Hey, Marie Perkins, how are you? Uh, yeah. So I was really thinking to myself, hey, Nolan has glasses on, and all three of the amigos, I just call them amigos. That means friends. Same thing. They have glasses on also. Well, those glasses shows everything in the that they're looking at. So it could be other people over there. And you know what? I am so glad that Ben Crump and then Al Sharp is on here because they're like, oh, y'all want to make it a race thing. No, I don't think people want to make it a race thing. I think they want transparency. And because that it is a black child that is deceased, everybody else want to say, oh, you want to call the race card. No, I think they're calling the race card because they want to know, they want everybody to be questioned. They want everybody to be searched. They want questions. They got answers. They want answers. They want questions. They want to know, why is it not so important, when if it had been switched around, or not just say switched around, but evenly, like if this was a different uh you know information, or different, um what you would say, a different, like, say for instance, let me just put it out there, if it was like three black boys and one white child, and the white child didn't come home, would you guys just sweep it under the rug and let everybody go home? And now we cannot check their phone. I mean, well, now you can always check the phone, but then they can say, well, what phones was out there? Oh, I lost my phone. Now evidence is being like we can't find the phones. We don't, why is we got to do all this investigation, when if that was true, that the kids came back to the island and he didn't come home with them, okay, you got nothing to hide. You've got nothing to hide. You know what I'm saying? If Nolan stayed on the island and he said, I'll catch a ride, there should be some evidence of that information. Not just because everybody said Nolan wanted to stay with the girl. You guys had all night to come up with that. And that's what people are saying. If it was my child, I would say the same thing. Not because he's black or because he's white, because my child didn't come home. And why did you not tell me that? He didn't. But one of the kids did call the mom, I think it was like 11, and say Nolan stayed there. Okay, if his phone was on the boat, and I'm not saying it couldn't, because it could have been still on the boat, and they brought it on home. Why is it a problem for you to give the phone to the mama and give the keys to the daddy? Why is there a problem? Why, oh, we can't find it when it's sitting on the Xbox? Everybody know the Xbox not in the closet. A Xbox is right next to the TV, on the table, on the couch, underneath the console of the TV, and the keys are going to be right there. You know what I'm saying? We don't go hide the Xbox. So that, so now that the family's going, this is just not making sense. Why does it take all of this to get the keys, get the phone, and then, and then we get the call late at night that Nolan didn't come back? So when people be like, well, let them just investigate. Yeah, and they will. SP, I've heard about a dry drowning. Is this possible with no water in his lungs? No, no, nope. That is not. I don't know. Is there a thing called a dry drowning with no water in a person's lungs? I can tell you, it says, but dry drowning does not exist. Drowning is defined as impairment of breathing because of the water that enters the lungs. If a person is submerged and inhales water, because they're gonna be, you're not gonna close your mouth and just take yourself out. You're in a state of panic. The mom tracked the phone to the friend's house and retrieved, shaking my head. Sounds suspicious to me, yes. But there's no such thing as a dry drowning. There's no such thing, you guys. I don't know who said something of that nature. I've never seen it in my whole entire life. I just went there. It's a myth. It's a myth. That's a myth called dry drowning. You cannot have a dry drowning. You're going to open your mouth. You're going to have water in your lungs. You're going to have water. Period. Point blank. There's no such thing. See, okay, the Red Cross says there are no medically accepted condition known as near drowning, dry drowning, secondary drowning, delayed drowning. There's no such thing. It's absolutely, people say stuff like that, but no. That's like telling somebody they having a heart attack but they don't have a heart. How can you not have a heart attack with no heart? You know what I mean? When you drown, it's because you're trying to get air. When you're submerged in water, you can't get air. Guess what's going to go in? It's going to go in water. You're like, see what I'm saying? I'm glad that you asked the question. Um, and thank you for the question. Um, there's no such thing. No such thing. Mm-mm. You know, you're going to have water in your lungs. That's just a part of it. The mom, okay, let me see here. Was was that water salt water? We don't know. We don't know about the autopsy yet. We do know that the autopsy is in. Now, they're not going to come on and just give us the information. They need time to not only get it back, but kind of understand what the person that did the independent autopsy is telling them and what do they want to share, because this is going to be very leery. I can tell you right now what I heard the autopsy is in and he has trauma to his body. That's what I heard. It's not extempiated, but that's a hard word for me to say. Extempiated. Extempiated. Pronounce. Ooh.
Instantiate.
Instantiate. I just looked it up. There is no dry drowning. Any drugs? They didn't. He's a foot. He was an athlete. He wouldn't have done drugs. I mean, I'm not saying people that's athletic and in football and soccer, hockey, and tennis and golf and stuff don't do it. But I'm just saying, you know, they check those boys often or whenever, it's just like my job, I can go in tonight and they say, hey, we need to do a UA. And I'll say, okay, because you're not going to find anything because I don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? It can happen at any given time. And so I just don't do it. Um, you know, um, well, the way I see things, I believe that if they do go, they will get probably a slap on the wrist. You guys, I'm gonna tell you, I just don't think that the law is fair anymore. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't keep continuing to reach for fairness because that's the only way that things change. And they're just not being fair when it comes to uh, looking for the answers. And I'm talking about the law enforcement. I'm not talking about, you know. Now I'm gonna say this, you guys. Another, yeah, I know about that case, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna say this. You know, with their special privileges, and people don't sometimes the ones that's having the privileges, they they don't have a problem because they're getting the special privilege. It's not nothing new. It's never been nothing new, you guys. This has been going on ever since way before I was even born. It's nothing new. And so when people are not talking, uh I'm gonna say this, the boys, they have rights also. And I always tell you guys, just like if the child didn't come home and there was three black kids, they have the right to not speak if they don't want to speak. They have a right to wipe out their Facebook, their social media, just like everybody else. It does look suspicious, you guys, but they have a right. And yes, it makes people question. So when they say, why is everybody mad? Or why don't everybody just wait? No, we're not going to wait. We're going to keep going forward and trying to get the information because you have a right to not speak. And if you want to speak, then don't speak about we want answers and you don't want to talk, you know? So it does get really messy. And this is why it gets messy. Because sometimes Marie says, SP, this is the dirty South. They're going to get away with this. Parents in the South should be aware. Well, let me tell you something. My husband taught me something, Marie. And he says, the sun shines on a dog behind every now and then. And I never heard that before. So every now and then, you have to make an example to please the people, only if there's enough people talking about it, enough people getting mad about it, enough people that thinks that guess what, this is news, we are concerned. It's not just because he's a black child, it's because a child, period, point blank, that happens to be black did not come home. And then the privileges of you as law enforcement are not questioning the people in doing your job because the value of his life is not the same value as someone of the same color. So she says, you got them good old boys investigating. Of course, they're going to get off. Well, you got prominent families, which, of course, but still yet, you know, I'm going to say this. I was a little disappointed that somebody said something about the mom having her kids raised around, you know, uh, Caucasian people. I was offended. I was kind of like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Do not attack the mama. Please. You can say anything you want. Don't attack this mama, y'all. And I hate when people do stuff like that. She ain't did nothing wrong. She raised her kid right the way she wanted to raise her kid. It just so happened when you have other people that don't have, the value of life doing stuff or whatever, her child didn't come home. But don't start attacking the mama because her child has friends that just so happen to be white. That's stupid. That don't even make sense. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, you guys, that don't even make sense. You know, here's the thing. That shouldn't even be a conversation. Because guess what? We all got to live together and get along. You know? Period, point blank. Evidently, she didn't have a problem with white people. You know? Is it true that, yes, we have to teach our kids to not get too comfortable in the surroundings? SP, can you please go over everything? I'm just coming in and it's very upsetting to me. I can't go over everything. I just went over the updates of what I heard. I will go over a little bit of it, but not too much. I said I wasn't going to stay on here long. I stayed on here really long last night. Hey, Miss Phyllis, how you doing? Only updates that I said was not concrete, is not instantiated, was that they said that Nolan had came back to the island, the shore, and that he was at a pool party. Don't know if it's true or not. And then we heard that one of the boys' dad, but I read that it was his uncle. We don't know who it was, but it was an adult that was, there. So, that was something that we don't know for sure. And then what else was it? That the autopsy is back, but we haven't heard of any of the results. Okay? Because it was supposed to be back Friday, and yesterday was Monday, so today is Tuesday. Not saying that it ain't back, but it hasn't been shared. But I heard that it was back and there was trauma to Nolan. And remember, I said yesterday that this reminded me of the Emmett Till case, and I told you guys where they wanted, when they were going through trials and everything, they showed the picture of what condition his body was in, and they did not want that mama to do that. And she's like, she's gonna show it, because there's no way that this was an accident or it was just whatever. It was no way. And when she showed that picture, people was upset that she showed the picture. She wanted them, she wanted America to see what they had did to her child. If you've never heard about Emmett Till, at least go watch the movie. You will get some kind of understanding how this town forbid was. I mean, they was walking around like, you know what I'm saying? And this is why we have these conversations. It's nothing wrong with having a conversation about how unfair the world is. It's been like that. It's not new to us. It's not new. Miss Phyllis says true. No one should blame, attack the mom. We as black people have to quit putting each other down. Some of us are raised in white majority people. However, in today's society, trust is exactly. You know, you can you here's the thing. We are not subjected to being in a place just because of our race or color anymore. You know, that's been gone. That's gone. So you're going to raise your kids wherever you see fit that you can raise them and get them education or their safety. You feel that they're safe, whether they're with whites, blacks. Some people, they feel comfortable around African American people. Some white people are very comfortable around black people. You can have thousands of them and they be the only white person. I went to work the other day. It's on the north side of town. That's majority of everybody over there is black, but the nurse was white. And she was like, these are my people. And like me and her, we just chit chatted like it was nothing. I know she's white. She knows I'm black, and we don't got a problem. You're just gonna have to get along with everybody. What do you guys? I'm gonna tell you something. If you make it into heaven, what do you expect? There's not going to be privilege to one race or the other. It's not. You know, if it was like that, I am going to be honest with you. Think about it. If it was like that in heaven, that would not be a place I would want to be at. I wouldn't. So if you think everybody in heaven's going to be black, no, it's not. If you think everybody in heaven's going to be white, it's not. It's not. Okay? Period, point blank. There, you can say what you want to say. If it is like that, I don't want to go. I'm just being honest. I don't want to go somewhere where I'm only there because of my color. Now, if they didn't make it, if we're all up there in heaven and all I see is black, it's because they didn't make it. But I don't want to be somewhere and they didn't make it because of their color. You know what I'm saying? It won't be because of their color they don't make it into heaven. It's because they did something, and maybe, hey, I'm going to say it has happened where nations die, just like when Sodom Gomorrah, the towns and the towns of Sodom Gomorrah, everybody was wiped out but Lot. I mean, well, Noah, but in Lot, his wife and his daughters. So, the road is very narrow in heaven. So, I'm going to tell you something. And that's why at one time, I was like, kind of trying to live down here in this world. She says, I'm white, but I love my black people. I love white people. I love black people. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say that You're never going to catch me saying that all white people are bad, because I know that's not true. First of all, anytime that I say all, it has to be about God, because there's no such thing of all that we know being indefinitely being a true statement. Okay? Unless we're talking about God, right? Okay. So, with that being said, I've told you guys my story, that there has been people in my life growing up that has helped me. And it was not, and I'm just being honest with you, it wasn't black folks. It wasn't that. Some of them could have helped and they didn't, and some of them stood back and watched. And yeah, I took some beatings, some beat downs, but there was some white people, a white woman, you guys, helped me. She didn't have to. And I acknowledge her all the time. And I think God was just on her heart. She did the right thing. But it changed my life. It changed my kids' life. It changed the nation of my descendants after me to have a chance. Because I believe that my children would not have had a chance if I had to raise them on the other side of town. That's just what I believe. It was just not fair. When you live in a world your whole life and you see unfairness, unfair with the books, unfair with the gas, unfair with, you know, unfairness, and you subject to it, and then you don't only live it, you own it. Some black people don't know that they're in their situation and they're in their habits of what they do is because they never got a chance out. They couldn't trust. They didn't take that trust. You guys understand what I'm saying? I know my mother was that way. I didn't get mad at my mom because she was prejudiced, but she probably had a reason to be prejudiced. She got to see some of the Emmett Till stuff. There was segregated water where she couldn't walk on this side of the street, or the picking of the cotton, or getting beat, or having to stop going to school to take care of her brothers and sisters, or the education level. You remember the books you got to read? They wasn't reading the same books you were reading. I know what books you read, black folks. You read See Jane Run, Run Jane Run. That's what you read. The Little Boat That Could. That's what you read. They wasn't reading that. They was reading Encyclopedia Brown. They was reading books when Little House on the Prairie was showing on TV. They were reading the books. I'm just telling y'all. And that's how they kept with more of understanding and knowledge. We didn't understand, like, come home and check out a book. I mean, remember there was this book club. It was this dog. Anybody remember the dog? It was this big, it was two dogs. It was a brown dog, and then there was this big red dog. I can't remember what this dog, but it was a program that they started going to the schools that didn't have the same books as the other schools had, so that you would have a chance at having a, a, a bigger vocabulary, a better vocabulary, a better understanding, a comprehension, and thing. I can't remember what that big red dog name was. Clifford, the big red dog. Okay. Lisa said, you remember. You guys know. You guys know what I'm saying. See what I'm saying? Like at the other schools, they didn't really need that program. But the black schools did because they didn't have the same books, you guys. Did you guys know that? They didn't have the same books as these other schools. They didn't need to know about Clifford the big red dog. You tell them something about that, they be looking at you like, what you talking about? They were on another level by the time they gave us that program in the black schools. They was already reading college level. We was reading Clifford the Red Dog in the 5th and 6th and 7th grade. Tell me that I'm lying. You can't. You can't. Tina says the big red dog name was Clifford. Yes. So it's just been that way for years and years and years. And it's nothing wrong with it. It's just it has changed. And so we are getting a better at being diverse. People just gonna have to understand. You know what? Doors are being knocked down. That your kid can be friends with a black child. Your kid can be friends with a white. Let me tell you what happened when I first moved over here. When I first moved over here, my kids would play in the neighborhood and stuff. But this white man came to my door, and I guess my son went over to his house and asked, "Can Ashley come out and play?" Ashley. I told y'all, her father came to my door and said, no, I don't want your kids playing with my children. And he tried to make it seem like it was because my son was a boy. And that could be a reason, he's a boy, she's a girl. And he was a police officer on top of that. He was a police officer, okay? You know what I told him to do? I told him to get off my porch, get off my property. That's what you do. Let the kids play with each other. They're outside running around, skip roping, jumping, chasing each other. You're it. Let them play. So all of this prejudice, racist stuff comes from adults. They tried to pass it down, but a lot of it has been broken chains, broken doors down, and now it's some diverse. There's diverse communities, and we just gonna have to all get along, you guys. We are. But when we see a child being hurt, we do question. I mean, you question it. It's just like if he got stopped. Let me tell you guys, if he got stopped at the car going down the street, an adult driving, a white man driving, there's 3 white children in the car and 1 black child in the car, and they're going to the park, and the police stop the car. Okay, they make it to the park, but the black child, they don't know where the child is. Well, the police took the black child to jail. You would question it. You know what I'm saying? You don't come home and say, okay, I'll call the mom later on to see if Nolan make it home. No. You call the mom and say, hey, Nolan wanted to stay on the island. Nolan was driving in our car with us back home, and the police stopped us and took Nolan to jail. You stop and you go and you tell the adults what has happened. If you love Nolan so much, you don't wait until it gets dark. You call the parents immediately and let them know the child didn't come back home with you. That's all. That's why it doesn't make sense. That's why it doesn't make sense, you guys. And the parents have every right in the world because now their child is already gone. They're not saying, hey, this is going to bring Nolan back. They're saying, if there was some foul play, which the police carried up and said, there's no foul play. Okay, why you didn't let this mama see her child before you say there's no foul play? Why you gonna sit there and say there's no foul play, but the mama still hadn't seen her child yet? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's you trying to spin a narrative out there. You're trying to get ahead of the story. So when you know what I'm saying, okay, this is what I'm saying. If my child is deceased, before you go and tell the whole world that there's no foul play, let me see my child. Let me see my child. Don't go identifying him by his teeth, his nose, his ear piercing, his tattoo, his beard. Let me see my child before you say there's no foul play. I'm just being honest. Yes, you would want to see your child to make sure, is there any bruises? I mean, I know a person that drowns, they swell, they bloat and everything, but let me go see my child. Let me take pictures. See, I'm gonna tell you, my brother passed away and he was in the home and he was by himself, but I found him. And the way he was positioned made me think somebody done something. I um I don't want a lot of things to happen where family members get taken out because you assume something. You know, people get hurt. So you let the autopsy do what they need to do. And that is what being Crump is there to do, to make sure that there was water in the lungs, to make sure there's no bruising on his body that could, he don't have broken arms, broken elbow, a broken back, a broken neck, because you don't get broken bones from drowning. You don't. So if all that comes up, and then you also can tell if there was trauma to the person before drowning or after drowning. Because if a person is in the water and they already deceased, but somebody threw them in the water, they're not gonna have that water in their lungs. Just because you throw them in the water don't mean they're gonna have water in their lungs. Because guess what? Rigor mortis starts setting up as soon as you die. You know? Cody's voice says, I guess I'm pretty lucky by having biracial grandchildren. They get to learn about both sides, so I know they will never have hate in their hearts. No, I'm going to tell you something, Miss Cody's voice. There's prejudice even in y'all. Even there's people that is black that will have some hate in their heart. They hate one race or the other. You know, like some people will say something about Barack Obama, and I'll be like, "Hey, you guys, he's mixed. He's not just black. He's mixed." And you're gonna have to appreciate his mama. She was white. But people be like, "Oh, he was a black president." No, he was mixed. Period, point blank. That's just the way it is. Miss Phyllis says, while I live all certain situations and people can do things to bring up certain emotions and sometimes a righteousness anger." Yeah. You guys are right. Anyway, every day, I watch it, and I'm gonna tell you, and I'll tell you guys this again. There's a channel called Don Lemon. He used to be on, I guess, CNN, but anyway, wherever he used to be. I didn't watch him as much, but I knew when he was doing his family tree, I watched segments of where he came from and how he learned who his family was and slaves and things of that nature. But he has a channel now, and I don't know if he's still doing news anchor in other places, but he has a channel, and he has the best coverage that I have seen out there. It's just like I said, somebody came on his channel. It was a black woman, and she was like, his mama thought it'd be best to raise him up around these white folks. I was done, but I mean, I'm not taking away from his channel, but I'm telling you to check if you want to keep up with this case. Don Lemon's channel is probably the best channel to go to and watch because he gets he gets the people in there. The mom comes on his channel, the dad comes on his channel, the friends have came on his channel. Ben Crump has came on his channel. All the people that's involved into this case comes on his channel. So that is the best place to get information. Okay? I'm just telling y'all. And if you go over there, just don't go over there and get information. Go over there and subscribe to his channel because he's got a real you know I would say uh, a good channel, um, that will probably get the information before anybody else. That's where you're gonna get when things break, when the news come out. That's where you're gonna get the information. So I'm just giving y'all highlights. Uh, Let me see here. And Don Lemon YouTube channel. Um, it's the official YouTube channel. You become a lemon head. So subscribe to his channel. You guys gonna have to subscribe to his channel. And I'm gonna tell you why you subscribe to the channel. You don't a YouTuber don't get money because you subscribe to their channel. YouTubers, to make their voice be valuable, they have to have high ratings. They have to have a lot of people and people follow them. So when they get the news, they know that guess what? Their channel has increased from my channel has increased from 1,000 to 2,000 in one night. Guess what? That's saying that what? People are watching, people are listening, people are going to take this seriously. So even though he is a big YouTuber, but he's actually a news anchor person, that now he has his own YouTube channel. He's like, hey, you know what? I can probably make way more money on YouTube having my own channel, and I get to pick what I get to talk about, and I can talk about it as long as I want to talk about it. You know, Tina, we don't put channels in there because I don't want people to get mad. You know what I'm saying? I don't do that. Mm-mm. Anyway, I'm gonna have to get off of here. Okay, y'all should know that I don't do that because people get mad. And he used to be on CNN. He used to be where people get mad and they be like, oh, even though he's big time, he's very big time. I'm just telling you, he covers a lot of the cases, and you'll start seeing some of these people, like, if they come on, like, say for instance, if Tyler Perry, he'll probably come on his channel. You know, he's not gonna come on my channel. He's gonna probably come on Don Lemon's channel. I'm just telling y'all the truth. But these little channels, let me tell you something. I am not worried about a channel. You know, some people, they go to school and that's what they do, and they do a really good job. And his whole career he's been covering the news. So a lot of them, they're just gonna come on YouTube and all these other places, and they do their thing. You can do your thing too. Anyway, you guys, I'm gonna get off here. I've done said my piece. So you guys be good. Bye.